Okay, let's take an example.
For instance, in Kisumu town, you can see some guys
doing funny stuff.
When you go there, you find that he or she is doing something that is contrary maybe to the society norms.
I see like these mad people walking along the road.
Walking naked.
They're carrying dirty bags.
Or maybe outrageous, that's beating people, slashing people.
Then running on the streets, putting on sackcloths.
Really looking sick, they look dirty.
Or maybe just drinking too much, maybe he's undergoing a stress or something.
So I can say that that person is sick in the head.
Sometimes they get lost, but nobody cares. The only person who cares are the family members.
He started disappearing. He started running during daytime and even at night. That is what I realized.
I was depressed. I could not sleep at night. I was not able to concentrate in school because my mind was tired.
For this region, we have Kisumu District Hospital. That was the original name, but now it is Kisumu County Hospital. When you go there, there is Ward 8, where we have mental cases. That is a specific ward for mental illnesses.
So when I was coming here, I was already prepared and I was ready to work. Our colleagues working in other departments have a feeling that those who are working mental unit or working mentally sick individuals are also mentally sick. Or they will come mentally sick one day, which is absolutely wrong. So few people understand what mental health is. Very few people understand. Mental health is ability to cope and adjust the daily living stresses of life. Yes, that is mental health. But the opposite now explains the mental illness. If one is not able to adjust and cope with the daily living stresses of life, then that person is maladjusted.
I think we saw a lot of pupils already, but do you think it makes sense to come back one more time, or?
Maybe, okay.
In terms of mental health, we actually hear about madness quite a lot. You know, people say, we have this one guy, this one lady in our community who's mad, and usually what they mean by madness is, some kind of psychosis. So people actually make good observations about mental illness. People see that the behavior is different. They say, it's extraordinary. They say, they behave differently. Sometimes we do think they cannot put it in the right perspective. And, this is a good point for stigmatization to start, because if there is no knowledge, then, this is the perfect environment for stigmatization to happen.
But how do we know that somebody's brain is sick? As your brain makes you move, your movements can be hampered.
I don't want them to know all the terms. I don't want them to know, the diagnoses. But I want them to know that whatever they see and observe is related to the brain, and they need to take care of the person who is mentally ill.
Well, as Rick mentioned already, Obuongo Edhano. That's why I think it's very important to learn more about this organ in your body. And
in my own word, the most common diagnosis is somatic psychosis, followed by drug-induced psychosis. Well, they become aggressive and violent, that is definite. They become unmanageable.
When the number is increasing day by day. Ideally, we should have only 20 patients inside here for the sake of managing them adequately and resourcefully. But you see, the unit is so small so that it forces us to accommodate even 3 times the number that is supposed to be in here.
Now wait, if it's not there,
you find out when a person is mentally distracted, that person is kind of taken like this person is not wanted in the community. You find out that he or she is neglected.
There are so many people who have this difficulty or who are mentally challenged, and people in the society don't think like they should be taken to a special unit to be treated, and instead they just leave them aside. So I think it's a challenge in Kenya because they're just left.
Mental illness is one area that's really stigmatized, discriminated, and I really wanted to come in and see why are people discriminated and kind of left aloof when they're mentally sick, unlike when somebody is physically sick, people tend to take care of them so much. I think it's just a matter of misunderstanding. The majority of the population, they connected with so many things, especially by community, think that when you're mentally sick, that you're somebody who's been cast.
So we started like planning all these activities like almost a year ago now, and when we did so, we found out that like stigmatization is a big issue in the Kenyan society, that there's not a lot of funding towards mental illness. And so that's why we decided to actually bring brain awareness here.
As you know, the brain doesn't just sit on the edges of the skull. It's not pressed against the skull so that it's not.
There are so many patients who have been discharged to go home, and their relatives are not willing to come and take them home, because who would like to have a mentally sick individual at home? So you find the biggest challenge you're having is patients are being abandoned by their relatives. As much as the patient has done so well, the patient has been discharged home, is settled, nobody's coming to collect them. That's the biggest problem we have now.
So it's just thinking of, let him just die. Yeah, so maybe no one is coming closer to him like a counselor or something. So you can just think of those bad things like, let me just commit.
Okay.
Yeah. You can either think of committing suicide or you can just decide to go to the street.
Hapa ni Kisumu, maisha ni magumu, sisi kunywa sumu na zidi kuomba Mungu. Hapa ni Kisumu, maisha ni magumu, sisi kunywa sumu na zidi kuomba Mungu.
My happiness is just the normal happiness. After getting up, I just sit until I feel I want to do some work.
When he's taking drugs, he can bathe. He can do other things. He's not wild. Sometimes he talks to people badly, especially when some people cross the home. I'm worried because even me, I need people.
If I can be transparent, I can say that I don't have any friend, only God is my friend. People don't even take you seriously. And I used to go to church even from 1990. I have not seen improvement. I just see that when I go to church, when I come back, I'm just worse than when I had gone to church. I don't know what is happening. They wasted their effort to build me a house like that because they are talking that I cannot clean that house, I cannot arrange it well. I was dreaming of evil things. I could even see strange animals. It interfered with me a lot. I even went to the road. I lost my temper and I wanted to be knocked over by the vehicles.
I don't feel good because even I want his future life to be better.
Maisha ni magumu, sisi kunywa sumu na zidi kuomba Mungu. Hapa ni Kisumu, maisha ni magumu, sisi kunywa sumu na zidi kuomba Mungu.
Every week, in every community, you hear of, in a family, a father has taken a sharp object or an object and starts to slash everybody in the family. You find a mother taking a sharp object and cutting even the children. That is very, very common now in this community, which was never ever before. So people are just on their own. They have their problems here. Nobody is concerned. The only reaction is to see how we can punish that person. Is to curse the person and blame the person. In fact, just more blame than thinking to sit and think, why this? Why was it not there before? Why is it increasing so much now? Why? We need to find out the root cause.
When a person gets mad, most of them do say that maybe he was a caster. They may not know that it is a mental illness that can occur to anyone.
In Africa, people believe so much in witchcraft. Where I come from, so many people practice this, and I do believe it works. So going mad, sometimes it can depend on the witchcraft things.
Witchcraft is a person which are doing something which they normally use the bad spirit. Those people up here, they say they can make somebody mad. Yeah.
Actually, I've experienced one in my family. Through witchcraft, they transferred the disease to one of my brothers that actually is my follower. Can't tell how it works. I have no idea how it works. But through prayers, there are some people that have been prayed for, and actually the witchcraft gets away.
Zingine naweza kutoka kwa ukoo ya huyu mtu.
Anasema sometimes it comes from the blood. It seems that the badness is in the blood system. So that blood continues in the system, offspring.
Perhaps when I'm named after someone, perhaps a grandmother or an aunt before, and perhaps this aunt was mentally challenged, so you find that naming has an impact. So they'll believe that since the grandmother was mentally ill, now I've inherited it, let me say so. Yeah.
From what I've seen, I can actually say that witchcraft worked. But actually, I would like to explain it scientifically, because I believe so much in the scientific nature of things, but I can't really do that.
My fellow teachers and the pupils, good evening.
I remember very well in the 1980s, this community had a program, a project called Primary Health Care Project. And I remember we had all other components, but the last two that were mentioned and were given emphasis were mental health and dental care. Paradoxically, unfortunately, it appears we are less focused now on mental health. And I think that's the reason for an increasing number of brain-based, mental-based problems in this country. And I think the reason for it greatly, and everybody observes, there's no research about it, just a common man observation, is because of stress. What stresses people the most is the life, the cost of living. That is number one. Cost of living. Parents are not able to deliver, to take care of their family members. Once a father realizes that they cannot be responsible, they become addicts to drugs. And then the wife realizes that this man is not helping this family and is a nuisance. So the best I can do is to kill him. Or the father decides, say that because I'm useless, and they no longer respect me, and I can't just cope with life. I cut everybody.
In Kenya, most of the time you realize that somebody who is mentally disturbed, most of the time you'll find that this is somebody who is engaged in cocaine, bang, too much bang and alcohol.
In our environment here in Kisumu, number one, we have issues of drugs. 3/4 of the young people who are suffering from mental illness, majority of them are suffering from mental illness because of abusing drugs and substances.
So basically, what brings this all about at our community level is idleness. The youths are very idle. They don't have something substantial to do.
Once you walk in the streets here, you see this like the street boys. They use these funny things like gum, they use the kubed, and many other substances. Sometimes you find even a child that belongs to a very wealthy family runs away from home, use this kind of groups.
When I've lost confidence in myself, then the best I can do is say I'm useless. And I get stressed, more stress and stress. We don't have a professional counseling system. And if I go for it, it's very expensive. We have community health workers in the village, yes, but they are also overwhelmed.
Currently, we have issues like HIV infection, which is one of the major causes of organic psychosis. It's a big issue because we have a bigger population that is suffering from HIV infection. At the end of the day, those problems that are associated, social problems that are associated with HIV, eventually render this individual to suffer from a mental illness. We also have the other mental illnesses like schizophrenia, like maybe mood disorders coming in. But majority find swinging in between organic psychosis and drug-induced psychosis.
Life is just changing so fast that our lives is very much dependent on something external. Like we used to grow our own foods. We used to get our own medicine locally from the herbs. We used to get our solutions locally around us. But everything now is around money. And that money is getting more and more scarce. Money is more in the hands of the elites and the rich people who want to have more and more and more, to the extent that everybody else is left deprived. People cannot grow food because of climate change. People cannot get herbs because of environmental degradation. No more herbs. People are focused very much on the medical attention at the health facility than getting it around here. So we cannot solve our own problems. The neighbors, I think this is where we have a problem again. Because in the past, in African society, a problem of any one family was a problem to everybody. Right now it is different. That fabric of the society is getting more and more reduced.
Maybe I was not close to God, maybe, and Satan wanted to take advantage. I was feeling that maybe Satan himself was coming with his spirits and trying to kill me. He was controlling my brain like a machine. I just love reading certain books.
Okay, so this one.
Maybe Satan was trying to use me as an object to hide his weakness.
What I could remember when I was going to college, I left him with 8 months, and he was measles. He was attacked by measles.
Maybe I can just tell you some things which were bothering me. I heard some things.
Yes, sure.
One thing is that when I was young, somebody taken my snap, and after taking my snap, people told me that that person was a witch doctor, and maybe he was going to use my snaps to to injure me or to do some things which will make me, which will cut my life short. Maybe I could only live for 1 day, for 2 days. So that thing put pressure on my mind.
Mana kamano jawinjo romo kaendi sa 1:40 kaka wasebedo kwanyisi juma mokalo eni wasebedo kod twak maber ahinya kuma kaka wachne do mar obuongo. Obuongo en gima very important ahinya en gima mar dhano. Okay, to deal with the mental illness, what I can say is that let us all come out to talk about these issues. Stop hiding someone with a mental challenge. Come out clearly. It's a situation, it's a condition. We have to deal with it, whether you like or not.
Most fundamentally, we need to deal with it at an early stage so as not to let it go overboard. I think by that we will help our society.
You get a person seated somewhere alone. When you find that person is sick, you at least try to talk to that person so that he or she should not pass from, let's say, acute stage to chronic stage. Encourage them, make them feel they're loved, and then don't isolate them. You know, once somebody is isolated, that person feels neglected.
All of us are beings, all of us are the same, and this can happen to anyone else. Okay, we can just have this mentality like we can't talk to them because it's just maybe someone has got that mental illness due to stress, due to that maybe loneliness and all that.
Aishi sasa wanakaa na yeye tu kwa sababu hiyo ni familia yao.
He thinks that these people need to be treated, these people need to be given an opportunity within the community, and more attention need to be given to these people.
My really dream as a public health officer who believes in prevention rather than cure, I really wish to protect our people from falling mentally ill. You see, the problem with our people on the ground, besides giving the awareness about the health, apart from giving them that knowledge, they must be also given the financial support.
We shall not prevent it fully from occurring. It will still come out afterwards. So the other part that we should take care of is the facilities. We need facilities to take care of the mental ill people.
For those who don't understand what mental health is, they take it negative. They need to be empowered to know that mental illness is just like any other illness that anybody can suffer, regardless of who you are in the society. It's a matter of going to the society, to the community level, teaching them what good mental health is, teaching them how to adjust, teaching them how they can cope with daily living stresses, and also telling them more about some of the causes of mental illness which are not inbuilt, like genetic factors. So that, let's say, in a community where there are those who are vulnerable, let's look at schools where the young boys, colleges, who tend to abuse drugs and substances, at the end of the day become mentally sick. So if you can start at that patient, at that primary level, so that they are taught on how to prevent some of these factors that cause mental illness, then people can be okay.
Oh, yeah. You're learning very fast. Good.
The takeaway message I can give them is mental illness, just like any other illness, don't abandon people who are within your setups who are suffering from mental illness. Take them to health facilities where they can be assisted, diagnosed properly, and put on treatment and a follow-up. And then, before they leave home, we also talk to the family members so that they can support them in 1, comply to the drugs, 2, making sure that they come for the clinics for follow-up, 3, support them so that they don't take them as just mental illness. You see, it's a common problem that once admitted in a mental health unit, then you remain mentally sick until forever. So those are some of the aspects that we visit with them.
Awareness really needs to be created because there
there are so many people that are being hidden back in the households. Then I think if another referral facility can also be created, because we only have one facility, that is Kisumu County Hospital, which is really congested. If we can be able to get more facilities where we can be referring these people, it can be really good.
And it is for the whole location.
Okay. But it's right, as you pointed out, there's nothing about mental illness, which is incredible, because a lot of people are struggling with mental illness. But there should be at least something on here,
Okay.
We as citizens, we have to stand up and say health is key to our living, particularly the mental health.
Me, I know that I am a child of God, even if my mother don't want me, but God knows me. Even if my father has died, me, I cannot go and steal somebody's things because I know I have faith in God. In 10 years from now, I just see myself being better every day, improving.
Me, my hope, I need him to be like other people.
I think people should create awareness. We should educate them on how to treat people with mental illness. And as well, if you educate, I think brain awareness can do better. It can help them know that it's not their fault, and it can also be managed. Let me say so, yeah.
Brain awareness is about educating society about mental illness, because we strongly believe that only education helps us to start destigmatizing mental illness. It's like 1, raise awareness about the brain. 2, start destigmatizing mental illness. 3, make our efforts on the ground sustainable.
I think this is a noble project, very good one, wonderful, because for one, the brain is there, but most of us, we don't know the parts of the brain and what they do and how they coordinate. And now as we go to the community, we know that when we see something that is going extraordinary or contrary to what we think is the normal thing, then we know a certain part of the brain is affected. So for me, I think we have gained a lot.
We should take our time to train these community health workers. We should train them and they get to understand how the brain works.
Now let's talk about the brain a little bit more. The brain is like this in your head, all right? And then as you can see, and now this is the time where you can take... Our concept is not only going into schools or communities, but at the same time, we also try to be sustainable as we educate community health workers, community health extension workers, and people on the ground.
So I think with awareness, with trainings, with seminars that we can conduct at community level, because we are community health extension workers, and we will be involving with the community units where people are. We will go to barazas, we will go to churches, and then we can continue sensitizing people.
We established the same initiative in Ghana last year, back in 2015. And looking back for a year now, we think we were able to at least make our initiative sustainable. To destigmatize mental illness is not something we can do within a year. It will take probably like 1 or 2 generations. But we think to get started is more important than to have like a direct outcome right away. By going into the communities, by talking to them, by engaging in open discussions, in QA sessions, by discussing the state of art about neuroscience, like with hospital stuff, like health facilities, we do think that it's important to be on the ground and be in interaction with the people, so that people get a better understanding what brain awareness is all about. Why should we care about the brain? They should understand that the brain is just as any other organ in our body susceptible to disease, and they should also understand that we can take charge of our brain.
People have been coming up with quite a number of activities concerning the health issues, but there is nobody who has handled the brain.
Explosives, and the railway spike went directly through his brain. It actually entered kind of under his cheek. You can see a reconstruction of the injury, and it went straight, clean through his brain, all the way from the...
Okay, for brains, this is the first time you're having people talk about the brain. The people from Germany and the Trinidad Youth Organization. This is the first time we've had people talk about the brain. And of course, we've learned a lot from the discussion, and most importantly, the components and how they function. Yeah, but now we learned that brain can get old. Yeah, and again, there are a number of things you can do to make your brain functional and active most of the time. Yeah.
So I think from the brief session that we've had about brain awareness, if we can engage their brain to make the brain become busy, then somebody would be thinking out of the box, out of the alcohol.
We do believe adding hands-on experiences makes the whole experiment and activities more fun for the people. So usually we have 6 sessions, one of them being anatomy, where we teach the pupils and people in general about the brain, the different brain parts, and what they do in particular. Because we do think once you know the anatomy of your brain and you know what your brain does, it is easy to deduce what your brain does when it gets sick. Or, maybe when it gets sick, you can also say what it does not. Then we have a station called the cerebellum. It's mostly concerned about the question, does your brain change during lifetime and how fast does your brain learn? We do have a sticker usually. People need to hit the sticker with their fingers and they go from their nose to the sticker. And then you cover their eyes, you put them a glass with prism glasses and foils. And out of the sudden, the vision shifts either to the left or to the right. And then, you tell people before you uncover their eyes, try to hit the same spot where you hit before as fast as possible, and then uncover the eyes, and people start actually trying to reach the point they were reaching before, but they're not able to do so because the vision is shifted. Over time, they come back to the spot because the brain and the cerebellum realizes that the movements you do are not accurate, and you need to adjust the movements. So at the end of our little learning experiment, people are good again in hitting the spot.
We are now having the exposure. We can now reflect and see what is happening and know that maybe the way they are treated is not the right way.
We don't want to talk about psychiatry per se, because when we say, hey, let's talk about psychiatry, people ultimately will say, no, I don't want to talk about it. They don't receive it in a neutral manner. We do think it's better to talk about the brain as such, because if we put the brain in the focus, then curiosity and thirst for knowledge are the primary responses. And at the same time, we do think that talking about the brain before the disease of the brain, or if you want to put it more general, the function of the brain before the malfunction, or the physiology before pathophysiology, makes much sense, because the same concept is applicable to many more sciences, including the humanities, including engineering, and whatever you want to name it.
Put their hand out like this. I'm glad I can do this. It shows I'm not drunk. I was worried that I'd fall. It's actually testing the function of the cerebellum.
The most thing that amused me today is that everything that we take in our body affects the brain. If we decide to take drugs, it will go and affect the brain, which will bring some problems later on.
We used to believe that it was a normal situation, like if somebody becomes mad, is tied somewhere, not taken for medical attention, or treated locally using the herbs, or taken to be prayed for. But following what you made us to understand, we now know that if treated in time, if taken for medical care, things can change and we will have that healthy society.
akanijali, kanitoa kwenye ajali. Nilikuwa kwa ajali, mzangu akanijali, ndiyo maana na wajali. Leo niko naye na kesho ameenda, sababu ya ukimwi. Vijana mujadhari, muache usharati, mufuate Bwana Yesu. Na leo nimefika kwa wale wenye rika, wadogo kwa wakubwa, kwa wale wenye rika. Mstari ninatupa na ngeli ninarusha. Hapa ni Kisumu, maisha ni magumu, sisi kunywa sumu na zidi komba Mungu. Yeah, au sio? Ha. Nice man, nice. Hapa ni Kisumu, maisha ni magumu, sisi kunywa sumu na zidi komba Mungu. Hapa ni Kisumu, maisha ni magumu, sisi kunywa sumu na zidi komba Mungu. Hapa ni Kisumu, maisha ni magumu, sisi kunywa sumu na zidi komba Mungu. Hapa ni Kisumu, maisha ni magumu, sisi kunywa sumu na zidi komba Mungu.
I'm only grateful. I don't have anything to add. You just pray for me. I also pray for Collins.
Everything you do, if you take it positively, you will one day gain from it.